The first blow, arrogance of the invaders. The stars burned quiet that night when the Karvik armada descended on the Helios rim. It was not war, not really. At least not to them. The Karvik were ancient marauders, a people who had shattered empires before humanity ever reached its first colony. They thrived on dominance, on conquest, on the theater of cruelty. The Helios colony had little warning. Civilians scattered as warships, so vast they eclipsed the local sun, drifted into orbit like carrion birds. The Karvik broadcast their intent not as a demand, but as a proclamation. The humans will not resist, they will not endure, they are prey, nothing more. Helios burned in minutes. Cities of steel glass melted under bombardments that lasted longer than any plea for help. Children were vaporized mid-scream, whole hospitals turned to plasma. A refugee fleet attempted escape, unarmed, fleeing for the outer lanes. The Karvik shredded it deliberately, one ship at a time, pausing between kills to let the humans feel the hopelessness stretch thin before snapping. The galaxy watched. Some cheered. Others whispered that humanity was too young to have stood so high anyway. But in their arrogance, the Karvik did not see the line they had crossed. The mockery, the Council's fatal miscalculation. The Galactic Council convened only hours after the destruction. Their debate was not about defending humanity, it was about how to use them. For centuries, whispers had claimed a new enemy was stirring at the edge of known space, something old, something consuming, a force the Council called the Unstoppable. Against this rising tide, the galaxy had no unified defense. And so humanity, bloodied, grieving, and underestimated, was summoned. The counselors believed Earth could be bent, manipulated into fighting wars others feared to fight. The humans would be expendable soldiers, shields for those who called themselves civilized. They are young, reckless, and desperate, one counselor sneered. Give them weapons, point them at the unstoppable, and let them die in our stead. The chamber laughed, the echo a mockery that carried across channels. Across the void, the Karvik celebrated their slaughter with festivals of bone and fire. The galaxy agreed, humanity would fight their war, humanity would bleed, humanity would break. But they did not understand. The silence before the answer. For weeks Earth spoke nothing, no declaration, no answer to the Council's demands, no grieving wails broadcast across the void. Only silence. It was the kind of silence that unnerved even the most arrogant predators. Fleets reported strange human ship movements. Distant colonies went dark not from destruction, but from withdrawal. Earth was drawing in, pulling shadows close. When transmissions did come, they were brief, chilling, clinical. Earth acknowledges the Council. Earth acknowledges the Karvik. Earth acknowledges the unstoppable. And then, we will respond. The galaxy mistook it for weakness. They thought silence meant hesitation. But those who studied human history, the wars, the retaliations, the vengeance carried across centuries, knew what it truly meant. It meant the storm had begun to gather. When humanity rose. It began in the Uit fields, where telescopes glimpsed shapes not seen before. Massive hulls, kilometers long, emerged from the void. They were not like the sleek vessels of the Council, nor the brutal blades of the Karvik. Human ships were grim, angular, clad in armor that drank light. Dreadnoughts older races had dismissed as rumor now surged into reality. They moved in silence, but their silence was heavier than thunder. The first message they broadcast across the galactic net was not a request, not a threat, not a plea. It was a sentence. You summoned us. With those words the fleets departed Sol, carriers the size of moons, swarms of corvettes faster than thought, siege engines designed not for war but for erasure. The galaxy watched in dawning terror. The Council had expected warriors. What came were executioners. Fire upon fire, the human retaliation. The first retaliation was surgical. The Karvik flagship, the one that had commanded the Helios slaughter, was found in orbit around a conquered world. It had ruled there for centuries. Humanity struck without warning. Sensors blinked once, twice, and then the Karvik dreadnought was gone, obliterated not by torpedoes, not by beams, but by a weapon that folded its existence into nothing. A silence deeper than death. The humans did not stop. Across the span of a month, every Karvik fleet that had ever touched human blood was annihilated. Their worlds burned, their citadels cracked, their leaders dragged into the void to suffocate under the cold light of Terran justice. The galaxy trembled. "We summoned them to fight the unstoppable," a counselor whispered, "but they are unstoppable." The climax, too much. When the unstoppable finally came, vast swarms devouring stars, fleets that dissolved defenses as though they were sand, the galaxy panicked. Worlds cried for help. Armies broke. And humanity arrived. Not as pawns, not as soldiers for hire, but as something more. The skies above dying worlds blackened as Terran dreadnoughts arrived in formation. Armies descended like storms, their boots shaking continents. Weapons humanity had never shown before were unleashed. Singularity lances, dimensional fractures, storms of nanite fire that erased entire armadas. To the Council's horror, it was not just the unstoppable that fell beneath human retaliation. The very fleets of the Council, those who had mocked and manipulated Earth, were accidentally caught in the fury. Their arrogance was stripped away alongside the enemy. It was not a war, it was revelation. The galaxy realized too late that summoning humanity was not a call to arms. It was a call to judgment. And judgment had come. The aftermath, whispers in the dark. When the void finally cleared, the unstoppable were gone. The Karvik were gone. Countless Council fleets were reduced to drifting ash. Only humanity remained, silent, watchful, their fleets hovering like executioners' blades above worlds that had once mocked them. Earth did not boast. They did not broadcast victory speeches. They did not demand tribute. They left only a message, simple and final. Do not summon us again. In the centuries that followed, survivors spoke in whispers. When alien children asked why their fleets never challenged Earth, elders told them the story of Helios, of the Council's arrogance, of the silence that came before the storm. They told them what everyone now knew as truth. Never provoke Earth. Their patience is vast, but their vengeance is infinite. And so, in the heart of the galaxy, a shadow grew. Not the shadow of the unstoppable, not the shadow of the Karvik, but the shadow of humanity, too much for any to control, too much for any to summon, too much for the stars themselves to bear.